students, I'm really excited to share this set of pieces with you today. They are by a composer named Modest Mussorgsky, and one of the reasons that I really enjoy listening to pictures at an exhibition right now is that I actually have a student who's playing part of this suite. And so it's been fun for me to learn a little bit more about the pieces as well, and I want to share that with you today. So, a little bit of history about Pictures at an Exhibition. It's a suite of 10 pieces, originally composed for piano, and Mussorgsky composed them to depict a set of paintings, and I'm going to show you some of those paintings, the ones that we still have and can view today later. This is Mussorgsky's most famous composition and is considered a showpiece for virtuoso pianists. You can stop. Pictures at an Exhibition was composed by Mussorgsky to remember the work of an artist, architect, and designer named Victor Hartmann, who was a friend of Mussorgsky's. We don't have all of the paintings that Mussorgsky depicted today, but we do have several, and so we can view them later. Each of the pieces has a very distinct character, and Mussorgsky did an excellent job of making his work and his music sound like what he was trying to depict. So, the pieces that you will hear are called, in order, the Gnome, which is a little lawn ornament in most of your experience, but it's actually a little man, kind of like a dwarf. Next we have the Old Castle. These are very sad, slow, flowing melodies, and they're meant to depict an old, ruined castle. Tuileries. This is actually meant to depict children quarreling, and you'll be able to hear the sounds of that. Cattle. Cattle is self-explanatory. He's depicting cattle going to market. Then we have the Ballet of the Unhatched Chicks. So this is Mussorgsky's depiction of chicks breaking out of their eggshells, but it's also meant to show off a ballet. And the piece that Hartmann painted, the painting that he made, is actually about the ballet and not just about the chicks. Samuel Gordon Berg and Schmiel is meant to depict two different types of Jews. Limoges, then catacombs with the dead in a dead language. This is Roman tombs. So he's depicting the tombs that were made under the city of Rome in Italy. The hut on hen's legs. So you're going to see in this painting that it looks like a cuckoo clock, and it is, but it's meant to show the house of a witch, a scarier witch in Russian folklore. And lastly, we have the Bogatyr Gates in the capital of Kiev. These are big, impressive city gates, and you're going to hear that in the giant chords and slow rhythms of the piece. In between each of these pieces, or most of them anyway, you will hear something called a promenade. Mussorgsky didn't just depict the paintings, he also wanted to depict the people at the paintings who were walking around and looking at them. That's why it's called Pictures at an Exhibition. So think of an art gallery, and every time you hear the promenade, imagine that you are walking to the next painting. So this is something very special. The piano maker Steinway, who makes some of the finest pianos in the world, decided to create a piano based on the work Pictures at an Exhibition. This piano took 4 years to complete, and it's the first piano to be based on a musical composition by Steinway. So you'll be able to see some of the elements of Pictures at an Exhibition in the piano. Here we have the hut from Baba Yaga. This bench is inspired by Russian architecture. Then we have each of the paintings at the exhibition, and we have the people walking around and looking at the paintings. Up top on the lid, you'll see the Great Gates of Kiev. This is the painting that the final part of the piece is based on. So now I'd like to have you watch a few clips of the pieces. This one is Promenade. It's performed by Evgeny Kissin, who's considered one of the foremost interpreters of this work. You'll note his excellent technique, his interpretation, and you'll probably also enjoy watching his hair. The Promenade is a piece where you will hear slow movement, but a little bit of a march feel almost. More of a procession. Kind of think of a graduation procession. You will also hear the sounds of people dressed up in their finest clothing, walking around, out on society, maybe even showing off a little bit, perhaps even a little ostentatious. Enjoy. So there you can hear the sounds of the Promenade. The other Promenade excerpts sound very much the same, but with slight changes. Sometimes the key changes, sometimes a little bit of the rhythm changes, and sometimes you'll hear a few new harmonies. Next, you'll hear a little bit of the Gnomes. You're going to hear a scampering and a sneaking sound. And remember, gnomes aren't very large. You'll also hear a little bit of a fairy tale sound. Next up, we have the Old Castle. Here you will hear a very legato, haunting melody meant to depict an old ruined castle. There are several paintings thought to potentially be somewhat of an inspiration, but nobody really knows exactly what Hartmann's original looked like. Here we have the Tuileries, children's dispute after play. You'll hear the sounds of the children playing, and you'll hear them begin to argue, and you'll hear a great contrast in the different moods. Slow, plodding, and heavy. Guess what character and what piece this is? The market at Limoges depicts a busy marketplace. The full recording of this Evgeny Kissin recording is available on the Allegra Films YouTube channel, and I highly recommend that you go and watch it. It's very instructive, and for pianists especially, you'll want to watch his technique, his artistry, and the way he acts as he is at the piano. Everything contributes to the music.